Listen up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, on a Friday, post-Christmas. Hope every one of you had a fantastic Christmas with you and your family here on the Snake Sports Talk Show. Wherever and however you may be watching and listening, thanks for making us part of your day. Lots to talk about. Thursday, Christmas games, also Saturday NFL, much to talk about here today. And I'm excited for all of it. Plus also some buzzes that are happening right now around in the NFL, which is crazy. And plus we got a new hire in college football, so I'm all for it here today on the show. Appreciate everybody for stopping on by. So lots of things to really discuss. Number one is that every time when I describe certain teams, I'm not here to basically say that the team is not good enough to win games. And most importantly, that they're not going to be a potential threat when they make it into the playoffs. That's not what I'm saying at all. So when I was called, like I was basically scolding the Denver Broncos, it basically meant that I had an unreasonable expectation of the team. And I understand the entire, I understand the definition of this team. I understand the definition of that word. Okay. So hear ye, the old scolding king is here. But here's the thing you need to understand. That game against Kansas City, against a third string quarterback, against a really good defense on a short week, Thursday night in Arrowhead, of course it's not going to be an easy game. But here's what drives me crazy more than anything else is the way in which Denver went about themselves offensively. Okay? And I think it's insane. Because to me personally, I've been saying this about Denver all week long. I have been saying this about it for the last few weeks. Is that the Denver Broncos, I want to believe this is the team that's going to potentially be a threat in the playoffs and potentially win it all. But here's the thing you also got to understand. This team at times drives me crazy on offense. Bo Nix, 26 of 38, 182 passing yards, one touchdown and one pick. Passer rating of 76. Which is Ooh, okay. Sorry about the technical difficulties, folks. What I was basically saying is, after just the media interruption, my biggest thing is I want to believe Denver is a team that people could count on and believe this is the team that's going to get you up and over the top. But in my opinion, I've watched it several times. Jet sweeps, screen plays. They care more about the yards after the catch and the yards after the carry than they do of actually stretching down the field. So Bo Nix had a passer rating of 76 and Chris Oladokun had a passer rating of 79. And you're playing against a third string quarterback. This defense also came away with 1 sack. And even on a short week and a division rival, I know these are tough. And everybody's going to probably end up coming and screaming at me, stop with the shouldering. Your expectation don't matter. You got no ball knowledge. Here's the thing. If you want to be a threat in the playoffs, you cannot be the team that ultimately goes in, you're on the road in Arrowhead in a high stakes degree type of game and only be managing to put up 20 points. And you win it by 7. Now, Kansas City, they've won so many games close by 1 score or less. And I know a touchdown is usually always a really good cushion, but that was a close game in itself. Like if you gave me a 10-point margin, I'd be feeling okay with it because offenses are different. Offenses over the years in the NFL have generated differently, and they've evolved. And so that's where I feel like with Denver, you come off of a week, last week against Jacksonville, where you get your asses handed to, and Denver now had to get at least back up on their feet and try to come up with a win against the division rival. And they did. They're 13-3. I know everybody looks up at that record and saying, well, they're 13-3. They're 13-3. I know what their record is. How you get to 13-3 is what doesn't add up to me. And by the way, there's already one analyst that I know has pointed this out. This is the worst 13-3 team we've seen that's going into the playoffs. I am not here bashing on Denver. Living here and speaking to all of the great Denver folks out here, I'm not here bashing on the team. I'm trying to be as real and sincere and as honest as I possibly can be. But it's so difficult when you could just see this from a mile away and just know this is not going to be the answer. So I just feel like Denver, and by the way, next week, you got to face up against another division rival, the Chargers, who's playing on Saturday, the first slated game against Houston. And if they win, they now have to fight for that division. And so that's where your reality is kind of sitting at right now. If you're Denver, and I get it, people are like, we're not worried about the Chargers. That's fine. If that's honestly how you feel, more power to you. Fans will be fans. They'll root up on their team. But that's just where I am right now with Denver. I think they're a good enough team. But eventually there is going to be a team that's really going to surprise some people that you least expect it. And I shouldn't have to be the one to basically tell you guys, hey, I saw this coming from a mile away and you told me I was wrong. And you said I was crazy. And you said I'm the one shouldering the team. You just have to wait and see for yourself. Okay? That's ultimately what it comes down to at the end of the day. All right. So talking about the Detroit Lions, they're out of the playoffs. I predicted them that they would end up missing the playoffs, even though I didn't predict that they would end up going this route. So it's really something, because in my opinion, the drastic change we've seen from teams. Ben Johnson goes to Chicago. He's already established a strong culture. And then on top of all of that, you lose out Aaron Glenn, which is not really a big loss to some Detroit fans. It's really not. And the biggest part is Detroit has so many talented players, but it still kind of feels like they're missing some pieces, or some of the pieces they thought they addressed was not quite addressed at all. So I understand the frustration from Detroit fans, and you should be feeling frustrated. Now, to each his own. Here's my opinion. My biggest takeaway is Dan Campbell, damned if you do, damned if you don't type of coach. That's the reality. All right. He's going to make crucial calls, the kind that makes you so nervous and so uncomfortable that you're like, what in the hell is he thinking? But it's a strong culture at the end of the day. And one of the biggest things is Detroit, they play with a lot of grittiness. But this year, Marcus Davenport, what are you doing wasting time with that? I mean, he's injury prone, doesn't quite give you a lot of juice and a lot of motivation, at least for the defensive side of the ball. And on top of all of that, injuries after injuries have consistently been happening. And Detroit, this is where their reality came to. They had 2 years, possibly the third, when they knocked out Green Bay, even though they were not a playoff team, but they had really good years in front of them. And I give credit. But just because that you only had that many amount of years, it's really difficult to be sustainable for that many years. Go ask Kansas City how that's working for them, because it's hard. It's difficult. Nobody likes to feel that uncomfortable. And it happens. Happens to a lot of teams more than you know it. If you're having this happen right now, there is a good chance. There is a really good chance that you'll be able to figure this out. Okay? And so to me, I feel like they're going to be just fine. I don't really see them in a position to where you really have to panic. I think if you're Detroit, it's about time to start cleaning some things up. Be real, be as sincere, be as honest as you possibly can. Because at that point, this stuff doesn't last long. You can ask many people about that. And that's really the major takeaway. So I think Detroit is going to be fine. They've got a strong culture. They've got a real good coach. I know it drives a lot of people crazy more than anything else. I understand it, and I get it wholeheartedly. It's not that simple and easy. But at the same time, let's also not start panicking over like things that you know are fixable. I'm serious. I think this is fixable for them. It's very much fixable. All you have to do is come to terms with players that you know are not going to be fitting up into this roster. That's one. Number two, address the players that you know you've got to be able to fix up. So that would mean draft picks, free agency, all those things. That's what it comes down to. So ultimately, if you can figure those things out, you'll be in really good shape. So Detroit, all they really needed was a slight step back in order for them to see what's really going on. Then you can then make the argument that this ain't really working out for them. This ain't working. So that's my big thing. Detroit is going to be just fine. They'll be in really good hands. You never really have to worry about it. I think Detroit, they've got their quarterback. They've got a very good dynamic run game. They got really good players. Without Sam Laporta in the middle of it, yes, that does hurt, but it's not as drastic to where everybody gets panicky. All right, that's not what this is about. So yeah, good stuff on a Friday. Lots and lots to talk about, and it's really rather interesting. So coming up next, we have a lot of things to really discuss. So one of my biggest takeaways is that we are, just because we're in such a caffeinated society, we just don't really know how good that most teams have it until all of a sudden one thing starts crash landing down and everything falls apart. And so that's where I'm going to be talking about the latest news on two teams, the Raiders and the Baltimore Ravens. Because right now, there's some latest stuff on Lamar Jackson that I think is absolutely nuts. And it's crazy. So that's my biggest thing that I cannot wait to see how this all unravels up and in Baltimore. We'll talk about that. Plus 2, new coach in town in Michigan. We're also going to dive into that as well. All righty, folks. Well, like we said, holiday seasons has been great. And I hope it's been wonderful for signing up at paydayfantasy.com. Payday Fantasy is your #1 go-to player pick'em app for all of your player pick'ems all throughout this rest of the season and including the playoffs. Also, your go-to for the NBA, NHL, and so much more. Payday Fantasy not only stops there at NFL. There's a lot more that you could be playing and picking all throughout the entirety of the season. The NBA season is underway and upon us. NHL season's been going strong. I can't wait to transition up and into that by the time that the NFL season's over because there's so much to talk about. But Payday Fantasy has you covered on that. Go online or download on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And when you sign up, $5 free entry. So you get free $5 on your free entry just by choosing us. And also 100% deposit matchup of up to $100 by using promo code SNAKE. That's promo code SNAKE for 100% deposit matchup of up to $100. Give Payday Fantasy a try for yourself. Sign up, pick the player, pick the outcome, sit back and relax, and get paid with Payday Fantasy.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
I'm so amazed at just the type of society that we live in. We're seeking automatic validation on certain things. We also are very judgmental to an extent, and then we often have a criticism on some things so fast. Like, as a caffeinated society, you haven't even finished through that Starbucks cup yet, now have you? Especially when it comes to certain things that are happening. So I thought this was interesting. So there's a rumored report that apparently there's tension in the locker room between John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson, and John Harbaugh says there's some immaturity happening in the organization. Oh, that's funny. How could that possibly be? Because let me tell you something. We are all, and myself included, okay? We are not all on the inside of those organizations, in the locker rooms, in the front offices, all of the important conversations, the important stuff that you and I don't really have any businesses of being in unless you really are internally in those media rooms. Okay. And I give kudos to them. But here's the deal. Okay. Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh. What's crazy about this is that Lamar has won 2 MVPs since he's been a Baltimore Raven. And now he's also doubtful to play against the Packers. And we know that it hasn't been the fun season for Baltimore at all. It hasn't been. So I get it. I understand. It's frustrating. But the fact of just news leaking out that apparently there is some serious tensions, in the building with Lamar, and the way that John Harbaugh has really kind of gone about this it's ludicrous. It's nuts. And in my opinion, here's what I do believe. This is a strong culture, for one, in Baltimore. How could you be having locker room dysfunctions already? I know the season has not panned out the way that they hoped it would, especially when you got Pittsburgh leading the way with a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. I understand all of that. But Lamar Jackson is highly talented. You do realize this is now the second time that we've had to discuss some sort of debacle in Baltimore? That it's insane. It's just pure insanity to me. I look at it this way. Of course, there's frustrations in the building. Lamar's not happy with the way the season, kind of went about. And I get that. I am not ruling that against him. And if some things usually get talked about or some things are leaked, it's because somebody wants it leaked out there. So look, I'm not disrespecting any of, the journalists or beat writers around in the industry, because I know very respectively so many of them that are in here, and they do fantastic jobs with all of their articles. But when this article comes out, it leaves me questioning a lot. And what happens is the news gets out, it's broken out in social media, it becomes a plague. It becomes a little bit of like a stemming plague. It's now rooted everywhere. Everybody can't stop talking about it. Everybody's already putting up posts. They're putting up trade packages like Miami trading 2 and 3 first-round picks for Lamar and a 5th. Like, are you out of your mind? You really think Baltimore is going to be willing to give up Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, who wins 75% of their games? You must be ludicrous. And you really think there's going to be another quarterback that's going to figure out the system that John Harbaugh already has put together for Lamar? You're out of your gourd. There's no way. And so I don't understand this. Okay. I feel like that is such idiocracy when I can see that. And of course, caffeinated society, not surprised. But here's the second part. Now, this one is very interesting. So the Las Vegas Raiders, who have had years upon years upon years of dysfunction, there's a report now that Pete Carroll announced Friday that Maxx Crosby is not going to be playing on Sunday's matchup against the New York Giants due to a knee injury. When Crosby told Carroll that he wanted to leave the facility once informed of the team's decision, Carroll agreed. So here's what was said. He knows that he's banged up, so he's talking about it. I'd like to get out of here. And I said, yeah, get out of here. So he took off. This didn't just spring on him. We've been talking about it, and it was exactly what you would think he would do, and he should do. I agree with him 1,000% on how he responded, and I would have responded the same way. So I know the Raiders are complete and utter dysfunction. Okay, and can you blame like Maxx Crosby at all? And Maxx Crosby's been the anchor to this organization. So for him, people are thinking he stormed out the building. No, he left out the building. Okay, there's a difference between storming out the building because you felt some sort of type of way or somebody basically wrecked your nerve than just leaving out the building because you know you're dealing with a nagging knee injury. You know that there's a lot that's going on in this building that they need to get right and need to get fixed up. So everybody is all talking about, is Maxx Crosby going to be back for the Raiders? In my opinion, the Raiders, they lost Maxx Crosby today. Done. Blow this thing up. You're going to have to figure some things out. And what's crazy about this is also an organization, and in my hometown of Vegas, and I've been away for 2 years, my hometown, that for years since they planted in Vegas, only had 3 win seasons, multiple times. They've also been a team that's missed the playoffs multitude of times, only went once. Like there has not been much positivity in this organization in quite some time. Okay. And it's all the same spiel. So, and look, I too am going to be watching the biopic of John Madden because I think it's incredible and it's a one of a kind. Nicolas Cage looks like he's playing a fantastic role, but the Raiders need something. They're obviously going to draft a quarterback, and there's nothing to stop them from doing so. In my opinion, I wouldn't. I would have honestly been fixing up the offensive line because you have a quarterback for right now. I know it doesn't look pretty, but you got to at least get yourself healthy structure. You got to get it in this building. Otherwise, it's going to be continuously dysfunctional, highest expectations when you haven't in the last few years, in the last 20 years per se, have developed healthy, cohesive chemistry since you've even been in Vegas. So, and you've got down the street, you got the Las Vegas Aces, who's won 3 WNBA titles. You've got the Vegas Golden Knights, who've been to 2 Stanley Cup championships and have won one of them. And you're about to witness the A's, who were also your sharing partner in the Coliseum, that are going to be coming down here and they're going to be planted right up and into the Strip. What are you going to do then? So remember, the expectations are going to be high, but don't let the expectations get under your skin of what you know reality you need to fix. That's ultimately what needs to happen. So again, I understand Maxx Crosby's frustration. I really do. But I also know it's a lot of dysfunction. They have to fix it. How long is it going to take? And when are they going to fix it? That is where you really need to ask that question to Mark Davis and the Las Vegas Raiders. Time now for the news.
And now, here we go. Hey everyone, it's story time. This is the Hot Press.
All right, so some news around in the Hot Press. So we'll talk a little bit more about it, but breaking news as University of Michigan, who has had to deal with Sharon Moore being relieved as the head coach after personal issues and an investigation that initially stripped him of his job, has agreed to sign former Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham to a 5-year contract. And Kyle Whittingham, all time as a 66-year-old head coach, 177 and 88 in 21 seasons with Utah, including a perfect 13-0 season in 2008. His resume includes a 66.8% win percentage and is expected to eventually be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. So Whittingham made clear in public comments that he was not retiring, and he joked that he was entering the transfer portal. The wording of his departure as stepping down, combined with his comments, hinted at another potential head coaching job. So Michigan, I feel like, with Kyle Whittingham And you got to think, Kyle Whittingham has had such great defenses at Utah for a number of years. And so I feel as though he's going to bring a grittiness to Michigan, and Michigan just wants to turn the page altogether after Jim Harbaugh won them a title and so on and so forth. I think, in my opinion, it's kind of crazy how a lot of these things just they unravel this way. But at the same time, this is going to be good for the program and the university itself, because Kyle Whittingham, he's a great coach, 66-year-old. It's interesting. So I think the biggest takeaway of this more than anything else is that, Kyle Whittingham, he's here to restructure what was such a dysfunction in Michigan the minute that Jim Harbaugh basically bounced. So I think this will be good for the university. I'm excited for the next chapter because this is going to instill more physicality, much more grittiness. And I think with this, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be really, really fun. So other news as well that has also come up around. So Myles Garrett is going to be eyeing the sack record against legendary quarterback Aaron Rodgers. And we know this is going to be an important game for himself and even for the Cleveland Browns to try to play spoilers against their division rival Pittsburgh Steelers. So at the doorsteps of breaking the NFL single season sack record, the Cleveland Browns' Myles Garrett said it would be special to get the record-breaking takedown against Aaron Rodgers. So Garrett right now has 22 sacks this season, and he's half a sack away from tying the single season record that is shared by Pro Football Hall of Famer Michael Strahan and TJ Watt. I feel like he's going to get it. And many people feel like that Pittsburgh's going to be overpowering on their offensive line. I doubt that. I think more than anything else, Myles Garrett is just a crazy specimen of a human being that he's going to be ready to play. He's going to be ready to go out there and just take out an entire offensive line just to get to the quarterback. By the way, the news on TJ Watt is he's going to be out in this game. So this will be interesting. No TJ Watt in the middle of this game, and especially knocking on the edges of the division for the Pittsburgh Steelers is also going to be pretty interesting. I just feel that, for Cleveland's got a very special defense. There's no question in my opinion with that. But I also do know that Cleveland has to address a few things. They need a wide receiver. They need another offensive lineman. They need something in the middle of this whole thing. So I think from the way in which I would perspect this is I think it would be such an amazing recording moment for Myles Garrett more than anything. And I think he would automatically, this would punch the ticket in going into the Hall of Fame by itself. Because I know everybody's like, well, he's never been to a Super Bowl, doesn't quite have a great playoff record. I get all that. But I think as far as just athlete in general, he's got it. I think he'll be fine. And I think, honestly, when it comes to Myles Garrett, I know eventually he wants to compete and be a competitor and eventually win the big game. But I think this is going to be such a fun time watching this game, just for the hell of it, because anybody that loves football loves to see records shattered like this. So I'm going to be paying a close attention up on that. All right. That's going to do it here for our news.
And now, here we go. Hey everyone, it's story time. This is the Hot Press.
So I wanted to circle around and go back to the news that broke out up in Michigan. So Kyle Whittingham is now officially the head coach of Michigan. So my big thing about the Wolverines, they know they have been dealing with story after story in the last few weeks with the whole Sharon Moore thing, the athletic director, all this crap. And Michigan now is finally going to be getting themselves a grown-up in Kyle Whittingham. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking because the whole Jim Harbaugh, Connor Stallions, I've watched the documentary too. And Sharon Moore felt a lot like the chaperone more than anything in this Michigan program. I didn't see a lot of creativity and I really didn't see a lot of juice as far as for a head coach to motivate his squad. I never saw a whole lot of that. With Kyle Whittingham, with the tremendous record that he's had in 21 seasons and all with Utah, like Kyle Whittingham is number one in a sense for that many years, loyal because he cares about these kids, cares about the program. And for somebody at that age at 66, you're surprised the NIL hasn't even caught up to him because that's caught up to Nick Saban and it's caught up to a number of coaches. So, but college football is its own classic type of environment. It's tribal. And when you think about the NIL and you think about the transfer portal, and then you're thinking about the constructioning of all the conferences and the programs all together, I mean, ultimately, you got to be able to make things right. And to me, Michigan, they needed a different coach after this. I mean, Sharon Moore getting into personal issues, not behaving himself, his own personal stuff, that's all on him. Okay, he's going to have to deal with the repercussions himself. But I think it sucks because you're thinking about a program that's got a very good athlete in Bryce Underwood. You have a couple of really good players. Justice Haynes, is probably going to end up going up and into the draft. No question about it. But Michigan needs a revamp. And I think Kyle Whittingham is exactly what they need. So I just think this is going to be the perfect opportunity for Michigan to really get their stuff together. So I was thinking about this. I was watching the college football playoff, and we've only got at least a couple of days until we're ready for the next round. But many people, as usual, are like, college football is not in the happy business. Okay, let's just get that out there. They are not in the happy business, and they never have been. I don't think they ever will. You cannot make every fan base, every program, and every college team happy. You can't. Because, listen, being a people pleaser, like as a trait in life, oftentimes leads to a type of repercussion that even if you don't mean to be this way, sometimes people will take it very differently. If somebody has a problem with this person and you are the middleman, it sucks that you would have to choose. But at the same time, you have to be the one to be able to put your foot on the ground of who you respect more and ones that are more feeling like acquaintances. It's very difficult when you think about college football and their platform. Because, listen, this is year 2 of the college football playoff. I know everybody is like, this is what you get. This is what happens when Notre Dame is not in the playoff. Big whoop. It doesn't matter. Notre Dame lost the 2 games, both of them. They should have won one of those. They lost to both those teams. Get over it. My big thing is that you got to come to terms with all this. And here's the other thing. And I thought Colin Cowherd put it together really well when he spoke about the differences between college basketball and college football with their playoff structure. Because a few things to consider. Number one is the college hoops tournament in March, okay, March Madness. There's 64 teams that get in. At least 18 of them are considered really good programs. The rest of them are all fill-ins. That's your Wichita States, your Loyola Chicagos, your even like, Temple or something like that. Okay, they're usually bottom ends. They're fill-ins. But everybody all knows you've got your power programs like Gonzaga and Villanova and Duke and North Carolina. Lots of really good programs up from there. And it's only going to get bigger and better from there because of the NIL. College football is just almost as similarly as the same. You have 8 teams that are in there that are deemed the best of the best. The rest are fill-ins. It doesn't matter whether it's group of 5 or it's some from the P4 conferences. Whomever that they came from, and they're playing in the last few spots, it's like I always said, the college football playoff is just like the Met Gala. And the final 4 teams that usually get in that fight for the opportunities are the ones that usually get the invitation. They get a free cocktail. And they talk with all of the big, bad, best, business people. Your Bamas, your Ohio States, your Georgias. Okay, they all get a chance to do that. Indiana is something special because a basketball program type of university. That their football program with Kurt Signetti has completely changed a lot of the landscape. And he's a culture coach. So however that you feel about it, even with Notre Dame, and I've said it several times, they need to join a conference. Because that's what this landscape and this platform is trying to do. There's only 2 teams without a conference, Notre Dame and UConn. UConn's football team, they're going to join a conference, but they're not going to be that relevant because their basketball program is fantastic. And Notre Dame, they had an opportunity to join the ACC because all the rest of their other athletic programs in the university are all under the blanket of the ACC except for football. And they made that decision because they know that media contract with NBC, where they're going to be getting a Brinks truck parked up, dumping and unloading cash up and onto their front door every single year. They're not going to take that away. But Notre Dame has to come to this conclusion that at some times, I understand old traditions, but I also do understand there's pride in those traditions. So if you're that insular and you're not going to join a conference, this is also why you don't even go into the playoff. Think about it. If you want to make a new tradition, think about it. Make a new one. Start a new one. You go into a conference, and as I've said before, they are a Big Ten program without admitting they're a Big Ten program, and they're mostly 1 foot in and 1 foot out with the ACC. I don't get any of this. And at the same time, you cannot make every college football fan happy. You just can't. There are some that are going to be heckling, some that are going to be pissed, some that are going to be jumping for joy, and those that are just going to be depressed and, saddened, and better luck next year, bud. That's all it is. But college basketball and college football kind of have, in a sense, a similarity to each other. And I know NIL, everybody's all they're pounding up and at the door because the NIL, the cap spaces, all that. I get all that. This is why you need a CEO. You need somebody to be able to handle this thing. Because if you don't, then this is exactly where it's going to be. It's going to be dysfunctional, unorganized, trying to make everybody happy. You just can't. Okay, you're going to tell me that Old Dominion deserves to be in the college football playoff over Ohio State or any of the other ones? Give me a break. They're not. They're just not in the payroll, and they're just not in the type of tier in class that a lot of these other schools are. It's just reality. But that doesn't mean that they don't produce out really good players that come into the NFL. That's what makes the NFL so special. You're going to have no-namers that come in from other schools you never even heard of. And all it takes is just a chance. That's all it takes is an opportunity. But in college football, you know your powerhouses, you know your mid-tier groups, and you also know those little guys at the bottom. I think we all have had this discussion more than once. We all know that. College basketball is going to be going through the same exact thing. 18 really good schools. The rest of them are all fill-ins. How many times have you saw Wichita State be in the tournament? Or Loyola Chicago? Or VCU? It's dime a dozen for them. All it comes down to is coaching, recruiting, and then having the best talented players that you possibly can and trying to shape up a culture. Indiana, here's the thing. You talk so badly with as far as Indiana. And look at where Indiana was in the last few years before Curt Cignetti got there. They weren't anywhere close. They were mostly a basketball program. They were a basketball school that they've held to a high regard. Anybody ever watch the movie Hoosiers in 1986? That's what I remember of Indiana. I've hardly remembered of Indiana in their football program until you've heard of Antoine Randall. Like, they do have players, but they're more of selective. It's not so much of an entire program as just a higher capacity. So stop trying to please everybody. Stop trying to make everybody happy, because it's not going to work. It's not. Everybody's going to feel a certain type of way. Going to be taking a break here, folks. When we come back, few thoughts to discuss about the up-and-coming week. It's also going into 2026 with high expectations, New Year's resolutions, and so much more. But you also are the kind that have a struggling time with having a sweet tooth. I know I do. Listen, I just had 4 cavities filled up. I've had to have some work done. But I just discovered a really good brand that solves up a lot of your problems, especially for all of you sweet tooth eaters out there, wherever you may be, that is also having a similar problem as I sometimes do. Check out Deutsch Snacking Foods for yourself. And Deutsch, really, really good stuff. Deutsch delivers every time. If you're locking in for the game, the debate, or a full slate of NFL action, you need the official snack of the Snake Sports Talk Show, and that is Deutsch Snacking Cookie Dough. This isn't your average cookie dough. It's ready to eat, packed with insane flavors, and perfect for game day, late night takes, or when you're grinding through highlights and stats. No baking, no mess, just straight up elite snacking. So you could choose to either bake them as do your old school homemade cookies, or you could also just take it right from the tub and just snack away with a spoon. Best ingredients. It's also vegan friendly as well. Gluten free, free from 8 different allergens that can harm you. And it's more plant-based. Check it out for yourself. And when you do, use promo code SNAKEBITES for $5 off when you order. Check out the link in the description and also on our social medias, and check out Deutsch Snacking Cookie Dough, fueling the Snake Sports Talk Show. Snack like a pro and talk sports like a pro.
Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket, and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com, and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Appreciate all of you guys for being here today on post-Christmas on a Friday. This weekend is going to be a lot of fun. We got 2 really good games on Saturday, and then it's a full slate of NFL action on Sunday. A lot is on the line. Number 1 seed in the AFC. So much more to really break down and to come in the next couple days. So I was thinking about this earlier, and I think it's incredible how most of us, when we break down teams and then we kind of dissect what teams are really about. So the Chargers have a really, really strong matchup in front of them tomorrow against the Houston Texans, the same team that ended up embarrassing them in the past. And Justin Herbert automatically already knows about the 4 interception game he threw in the playoffs. Now, granted, this was also not a highly talented team last year, and we all know that, and they've came a long way since then. But they got playmakers. They've got a really good head coach in his second year. And what I also thought, which was incredible, was there was a stat somewhere, and I was kind of seeing it just for like a flash. And it was explaining about Jim Harbaugh's defenses from both the 2012 and this year's Chargers team that he had in San Francisco in 2012. They both are nearly identical to each other. And the only difference is, as far as defensive efficiency, this year's team is better than the team in 2012, which is hard to wrap your brain around. I know, I thought about it too. And my takeaway is that the Chargers, they're playing with a lot of grit, and a lot more grit than I think anybody has ever seen. And it's not really talked about all that much. And I get it. Many people look at the Chargers and think they're probably going to be first-round exits. They're probably going to choke in the playoffs. They are probably not going to be the intimidating team because they still need more. And I've heard every single narrative on that, every single one of them. And I get it. I get it from every perspective. But the thing is, if you haven't figured out Jim Harbaugh by now, then you're never going to figure him out at all. And you got to think the defensive metrics, and that's what's crazy about it. So I'll try to see if I can pull up a stat. Because I seen it yesterday. Like I said, I seen it last week when they played the Cowboys, and I thought it was crazy. So we're going to ask of stats. And we'll see exactly how they both correlate. So here we go. So San Francisco, in their defensive overview, they were 11-4-1, and they won the NFC West. They only allowed 17.1 points per game, second in the NFL. Elite defense. They were one of the top defenses in the league. They were ranked top 5 in fewest points allowed and total defense that year, which included Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis, and Deshaun Goldston. And they had Pro Bowlers that included Bowman, Willis, Aldon Smith, Justin Smith, and others in a very strong front 7 and secondary. So that was elite. And it was top tier amongst NFL defenses. Here's what's funny about this. They were 11-4-1 in 2012, winning the NFC West. The Chargers are 11-4 right now. And they're on the brink of potentially getting closer to the AFC West division title, which is not that easy to do. But what's crazy is they allowed 20 points per game, solid top 10, 12, allowing 301 yards per game, 40 sacks, Diane Henley leads the team in 92 tackles. And so the Chargers defense above average overall, ranking well versus league, often top 10 versus yards allowed, but is not as historically elite like the Niners. But their key defensive players, Derwin James, Tooley, and Khalil Mack, has been contributing that. So when you look at it from side to side, right, they had a very good front seven. And on top of all of that, they had multiple contributors with multiple interceptions, Goldston and others. Tony Jefferson and the Chargers have similarly the same thing. They have multitudes of secondary personnel that has also accumulated a lot of interceptions themselves. So they're very good. They're competitive. And they've also got a couple of Pro Bowlers. They just got 5 of them. And they got a few other reserves. So I'm not saying this is similarly to San Francisco, but my takeaway is you got to think about who Jim Harbaugh is. They allowed 17 points that year in 2012, and they're allowing 20 this year, but could definitely find themselves allowing less than 20 by the time the season's end. And then you look at that defense, they're physical, they're ferocious, they get after the quarterback, and what are you going to do by then? So the Chargers, nobody's talking a whole lot about them, but watch out. They could be a team that nobody expects that's going to make a ton of noise. And whether you want to believe it or not, and it's fine. I mean, everybody wants to believe, Josh Allen, they got all that, but Josh Allen's defense, do we even trust them? And Sean McDermott, there's question marks everywhere. Like, is Aaron Rodgers going to be that quarterback getting over the hump for Pittsburgh? Are Jacksonville and Denver really that legit of teams? Houston, they got a great defense, but the offense feels flat. So tomorrow night is going to be the question everybody's asking is, are the Chargers for real? Because at this point, Justin Herbert and the numbers that he's put up with no O-line is immaculate and it's incredible. But we're going to find that out for ourselves. Saturday's games are going to be fantastic. Sunday's games are also going to be even more incredible. So I'm excited for both. And next week, because again, this is how I look at every single team when it comes to the top 10 NFL teams. And we've only got 2 left to do because you got this one that'll be coming up into week 18 and then going into the playoffs. And that's that. So, and it's all playoff time from there. So just be prepared for that because I know I've had a lot of backlash. I've had a lot of different repercussions up from there because of some of the rankings, but you got to understand it's all about efficiency at the end of the day. I'm not taking away from what Jacksonville's been able to do, but Denver for the longest time has had a winning streak. They were a strong team. Eventually they were going to get hit and they got back up and won a game, but we still have question marks. Houston has been a hot team with a great defense. Offensively, they got to get things right. So this is the biggest question mark and test, and Justin Herbert knows that. So we'll see what happens up from there. All right. Appreciate everybody for coming on by. Next week is going to be a lot of fun. We know that the next week is our New Year's week. Closing the chapter of 2025, opening up the new book chapter in 2026. All of you guys here tonight. Enjoy these weekend games. Enjoy all the NBA action, and we'll see you guys all next week. Take care of yourselves, and tune in next week on the Snake Sports Talk Show. Take care, everyone.